Thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus. We want to talk some Colorado Avalanche, and who better to do that with than 9 News sports reporter Arielle Orsuto. Arielle, thanks first of all for joining us. I know you love the Avs. You've covered them for several years on end. You were in Tampa when they won the Stanley Cup. But Arielle, give us, to be fair, we're recording this in mid-December, so
Sure.
This is not an exact game-to-game sort of assessment, but give us an assessment of what you've seen from the Avs so far this season.
Honestly, I think the best way to describe them is above expectations. And I don't mean from the very beginning of the season. I mean, I think at the beginning of the season, people expected them to just dominate, go through every game. You know, they looked at every game and they would be like, okay, win, 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 win. I mean, when they lost Landeskog, when they lost McKinnon, when they lost Nichushkin, when they lost every single player, you think, okay, you go into every game thinking, just keep your head above water. And they have done that and then some. I mean, every game they've been probably the underdog, and they find ways to win. And that's a really important skill to have.
And so, at this point, the first third or so of the season's been kind of marked by the amount of injuries, right?
Absolutely. I think there's really no other way to describe it other than injuries. I mean, that's the only big headline we could take away from this is they've gone through this first third of the season very, very injured. I mean, we've basically been looking at the Colorado Eagles out there on the ice, led by basically just, Mikko Rantanen and the Eagles. It's like the Colorado Avalanche starring Mikko Rantanen and the Eagles. And
by the way, speaking of Mikko,
yeah,
he's on pace for over 50 goals. He's been awesome for them so far this season.
Absolutely, and I don't want to take anything away from him, but I mean, he is the only star there on the ice for most of the season. So I mean, he's definitely going to gobble up all of those goals. But he is a phenomenal player. I mean, he's aggressive. He can, check into the boards. He's huge. I mean, he's everything you'd want. But he's also a goal scorer. He's opportunistic. He's there, when you need him. But he's a phenomenal player. And he's everything they've needed this entire time. They've needed Kale, they've needed a lead back on him, and they've needed Mikko. And they've needed good goaltending. And they've gotten that from both their goaltenders as well.
So, I want to speak about the goaltenders, too, and specifically Georgiev, the guy they got in the offseason to replace Darcy Kemper, and he's been kind of the mainstay in between the pipes. I've, of course, have Francouz there as well. What do you think of Georgiev so far?
So Georgiev, I mean, obviously, so we're not talking exact numbers here because, as you said, we're recording this at a certain time. But, he's been there for, 18 games and has put up a 92% save percentage. And Pavel Francouz, 9 games, 91%. I mean, they're basically putting up the exact same numbers, which is something I actually said going into the season. I thought before they named a starting goaltender that they were going to have a really hard time defining who the starting goaltender was going to be because you were actually looking at very similar guys. One a little bit taller than the other. Pavel Francouz, pretty short guy, but a very, very skilled goaltender. But you're looking at two guys who had a pretty similar skill set heading into the season, and I thought they were going to have a pretty hard time defining who their starter was going to be. And if you look at the numbers, their numbers speak for themselves. They're almost exactly the same at this point after a third of the season. That's a good problem to have because your starter is putting up serviceable numbers and your backup is putting up the almost exact same numbers. So if one goes down, the other is there. Or if one just needs an off night, the other is there. And I think that they're getting what they need out of their goaltenders.
And a lot more cheaply than they would have done if they had re-signed Kemper, right?
Absolutely. I mean, Darcy Kemper, I think great guy, right? Great goaltender, great guy. I don't think that he is a star. I don't. But he was going to get that contract because he's a Stanley Cup champion. And that's just kind of what you get. It's the same thing with Nazem Kadri. Kadri is a great player, much better than Kemper, different positions, but in their positions, much better player. But he's not worth what he was getting. He was just getting that because he performed the way he did in the Stanley Cup. That's what Kemper is going to get. And so you can't afford to pay those players, and you can get that production elsewhere, especially with all the pieces that you have. Now, what makes the Avs so special is they have the best defensive core of any team, bar none. I mean, it's not even comparable.
Makar, Taves.
Yes, I mean that's just your top. But you have from there. I mean, you get Sammy Girard. You have Bo Byram, which by the way we've not even seen this season basically because he got hurt so quickly. I mean, you have some of the best defensemen across the entire board. So it really doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but that's why you've seen such a low goal percentage every single year without having a star goaltender. I mean, a couple of years ago, you had why is his name escaping me right now? We had our Grubauer. Sorry.
Grubauer.
We had Grubauer up for the best goaltender of the year. When he's not a best goaltender, but his defensive core was protecting him, and I think that's just what really makes this team so special.
Grubauer got the big contract as well, and then now
And he's in
Kemper
Seattle,
does.
and he doesn't really deserve that same thing. They're all benefiting from playing from this team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so they see the numbers, but don't see maybe the defensive core as much.
Exactly.
So give us a timeline, going back to the injuries, because that seems to be the big story so far this season.
Absolutely.
What's the timeline for the Avs to get some of their core players back?
Sure. So already just this past week, they got Val Nichushkin back about a week, 6 days ago from when we're talking right now. So he's back. They got Arturi Lehkonen back 2 days after that. So he's back. Check. Tonight, we're going to see Evan Rodriguez back. Another check. So each day, we're kind of seeing more and more players coming back. Nathan McKinnon was a month from when he got injured. We haven't gotten any more updates on him, but no updates.
Sometime January?
Yeah, so yes, I would think so, sometime in January. That was a month from sometime in December, so yeah, sometime in January, sorry. And then Landeskog, we got an update today, actually. Landeskog, he is an update, but not an update. He's progressing the way he's supposed to be progressing, but has not stepped foot on the ice. He's going to have to get his cardio back. He's going to have to get back on the ice. So, I mean, he's progressing the way he's supposed to be progressing, and that's kind of about it. So,
general timeline for him?
February, maybe?
Okay. So,
maybe.
Can I play optimist for a second here?
Yeah.
So that means, in a sense...
I'm with you, I think.
Right?
The way you're going to be... Go ahead, but I think I'm with you.
Okay, come January, February, not only do you get the players back, potentially, I mean, assuming there's not more injuries, whatever, but you've got them maybe reasonably rested, and they'll have a couple of weeks, months of game time heading into the playoffs, right? So maybe the Avs, they're not a 1 seed, maybe they're a 3 or 4 seed, but nobody's going to want to face them.
Oh, a couple more. I mean, Darren Helm also wearing his he was back on the ice wearing a non-contact. McDermott also wearing a red non-contact, but they're back on the ice. So, I mean, they should be coming back in the next few days, weeks. So, like, I mean, they were definitely progressing. So I'm right there with you, honestly. Right now, they're sitting in about 3rd place in the division. It's, it's a tough division. They've been dominant in it, but they're sitting a little bit below. But they're not super far back. So stay here, keep your head above water, keep the pace. Once you get everyone back, I think they start picking it back up again. And I'm with you. Maybe you're not a 1 seed. Maybe you're not the President's Cup winner. But
what did that do for Florida last year?
Yeah, right. But exactly. But you're in there. You're in the mix. Just make the playoffs. Just make the playoffs. That's all that matters.
Okay.
Just have a chance.
So I guess that's the optimistic side. Maybe more negative side. What are some teams that you see that could really pose a threat to the Avs Stanley Cup hopes this year?
I mean, in their own division. I mean, Dallas is only just getting better. I mean, they know how to play them. They do play them, but I mean, they're just such a dominant team. So that's going to be tough. They have a problem sometimes with their own division. They've had a problem with Winnipeg each time they play them. So that's going to be an issue. Is just getting past their own division. I think other teams retooled. So in the offseason, other teams retooled elsewhere in the West. I think the West is really strong. Now the East is even stronger. We saw the way they played the Bruins. The Bruins look absolutely unstoppable. And so if you want to talk about like way, way, way down the line, like if they make the Stanley Cup, that's going to be a huge issue.
But of course, that's June, and we're recording this in December. So we got 6 months to figure that part out. But overall, so I guess to kind of round this on up here, overall, yes, there's a lot of injuries, but they'll come back in a reasonable amount of time, and the Avs are keeping their heads above water, right?
Hey, if we want to put this in like bigger Colorado terms, I've said all along that I think that the Avalanche and the Broncos have both been plagued by injuries. The Broncos have so many systemic problems. I thought that the Avs injuries were actually worse than the Broncos ones because the amount of players you have on the ice at a time compared to the amount of players you have on the field for the Broncos. Yet the Avs are outperforming where they should be based on the amount of injuries they have. That's, I think, where you need to take this into consideration, say how impressed you should be with the way they're playing and how optimistic you should be with the way they'll be when they get back.
So
take that into consideration.
I totally get that. Do you think the Avs make another run at the Stanley Cup this spring?
Another run? Yes, because a run just means that you made the playoffs, that you're playing competitively in the playoffs. Do they win the Stanley Cup? I'm not going to say that here in December. I mean, you can't.
Well, okay. Are you seeing how different, or is it hard to assess because
It's
the amount
hard.
of injury?
Yeah, I haven't seen a full team. I mean, none of us have seen a full team yet this year. I mean, because we haven't seen Landeskog once this year because he was injured before the season even started. But then as soon as the season started, they lost players immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't seen a full team yet. So
we'll put you in a hotter seat in February.
okay. Yeah.
Deal?
Yeah. Deal.
So for now, things okay.
Let us watch a month of a full team together, and then we'll chat.
Deal.
Deal?
Arielle Orsuto, not on the hot seat for now, but we'll see you at the end of the winter.
But it's like you put a seat warmer on.
It's warmer on.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
you put the car heat
Yeah, so
thing.
you put the seat warmer on though. It's not hot. It's like it's getting toasty.
It's getting toasty. But no, thanks so much for your time, Arielle.
Absolutely. Thank you.